Hello and good day, pre-algebra. We are continuing with CO3, which is ordering rational numbers and identifying opposites and absolute values. These words perhaps are new, so we're going to start by defining them. What is, and you can, we'll start with absolute value. What's absolute value? Did you cover this in 6th grade at all? Absolute value? Does it ring a bell? Okay. Well, the absolute value of a number is a number's distance from zero. Okay? A number's distance from zero. And here's the key word in this definition, distance. Because what do we know about a distance? Does a ruler have a negative inches side to it? No. The odometer on your car that counts the number of miles that you drive, if you drive in reverse, does that cause the odometer to count backwards like you're losing miles on your car? No. Okay. A distance is always positive, right? You cannot go a negative distance. Even if you go backwards, you're still going a distance. You're just doing it backwards. Okay. And so when we talk about absolute value, we're talking about numbers that are always going to end up being positive. What absolute value looks like is this. It's like two giant bars. They're not ones, okay? And then a number in the middle, right? That symbol, a number between two bars like this, means the absolute value, or how far from zero is it. So the absolute value of 10 is really asking you how far from zero is 10? 10, right? So the absolute value of 10 would be 10. Similarly, if I ask you for the absolute value of negative 10, it's asking you the same thing. How far from zero is negative 10? What is negative 10's distance from zero? Remember, distance can't be negative, though. It's 10, okay? Negative 10 is 10 away from zero. It's just backwards, right? It's just the negative way, okay? But an absolute value, that distance always being positive, both the absolute value of 10 and negative 10 would be 10 because that's how far away from zero they are. And that leads us to opposites, okay? 10 and negative 10 are opposite numbers because they're the same distance from zero. So opposites are numbers that are the same distance from zero. Opposites are numbers that are the same distance from zero. So 10 and negative 10 are examples of opposites. What's another example of opposites that you can think of? 8 and negative 8, right? The absolute value of 8 is 8. It's 8 away from 0. And the absolute value of negative 8 is also 8. It's 8 away from 0. Okay? They would be opposites. Another example.
7 and negative 7.
7 and negative 7. The absolute value of 7 is 7. The absolute value of negative 7 is also 7. Okay? You're probably picking up on the little pattern here that, oh, it's just like the positive and negative of the same number. And you're right, because those two numbers are both going to be the same distance away from 0. Okay? So have you heard that term before, absolute value? Is it light bulbs flickering, or is this something new?
We did this last year.
Did this last year?
Yeah.
Did it? Okay, good. Okay. Well, now we're going to go a little bit deeper. Because then in algebra, this comes back again. We'll solve absolute value equations. And that whole distance factor really becomes important there. But for now, we're just going to focus on the opposites and absolute values of numbers. Okay? So the directions here say for each value A through F labeled on the number line, write the value of the number, its opposite, and its absolute value. Okay? So for letter A, which is here, says write the value of the number. What is the value of the number at point A? There is point A. I've highlighted it in green. Where is point A? Adrian.
I forgot.
Mia. -5. Okay. So above point A up above, I'm going to put -5 because that's the value of point A. Okay. Now, what is the opposite of -5? What number is the same distance from 0? You go on the other side of the number line, symmetrical. Where are you going to land, Aiden? +5. So the opposite of -5 is +5. And then now, what's the absolute value of -5? That's what AV stands for. Absolute value. What is the absolute value of -5? How far is it from 0? It is 5 away from 0. Okay. Letter B. I'll do it in red so we don't get confused with A. Letter B. What is the value of point B here? It's a decimal. You could write it as a fraction too if you wanted to. But what's the value of that? Yeah.
2.5.
Positive or negative?
Oh, negative.
-2.5, right? It's halfway between -2 and -3. Therefore, its value is -2.5. What is the opposite of -2.5? Well,
2.5.
+2.5. What is the absolute value of -2.5? 2.5 again. Okay. Right. Let's skip over to letter D. Get on the positive side of the number line here. We'll do this in blue. What's the value of point D? Mia. It is 1. What is the opposite of 1? Zoe. -1. What is the absolute value of 1? Gregory. +1. Good. So this line here, your absolute value row, will always be a positive value, right? Because that's referring to the distance, how far from 0 the number is. Like we talked about, that's always going to be positive, okay? Your opposite will depend on what your original number is. If your original value is negative, your opposite will be positive. If your original value is positive, the opposite of that is going to be negative, right? So really, the math behind this isn't necessarily, there's not a lot of calculation to it. It's just understanding what these terms are, what these definitions are. The second section says for each letter G through K, plot its value on the number line, then write its opposite and its absolute value. So instead of me giving you point G on the number line, you now need to, I don't want to use black, I suppose. You now need to identify where 1 2/3 is going to be. Someone describe for me where 1 2/3 is going to be on this number line. Where am I going to be plotting this point? Is it going to be on the negative side of 0 or the positive side of 0? Positive side. Okay, we're getting someplace now. Is it going to be on a whole number or is it going to be between two whole numbers? Between two whole numbers. Okay. Between which two whole numbers? 1 and 2. Okay, you can do this, folks. Right? It's 1 2/3. So we have one whole, but not quite two wholes. So between 1 and 2, approximately 2/3 of the way through is where 1 2/3 is going to be. So this is point G right there. Okay? Between 1 and 2. It's one hole, but not quite two holes. What is the opposite of 1 2/3? Mia? -1 2/3. What is the absolute value of 1 2/3? Nolan? Positive 1 2/3. Again, this absolute value line, all of them will be positive because it's talking about that distance. Okay? Questions on any of this? Okay. All right. Going down to that second section then. It says answer each question. Why are 20 and -20 opposites? Why are 20 and negative 20 opposites? Short answer there. I'm thinking of a number with an absolute value of 16. What could my number be? And finally, you try and hold your breath for exactly 10 seconds, but miss that mark by 2 seconds. How long did you hold your breath? Question or answer?
Answer.
Save it. You can put it on your own page. We'll talk about it Monday. Okay, that is your homework for Monday. You've got the rest of class to work on it, 13 quality minutes. We can go over some more examples if you want to once we're done recording. I'll let you work together today because you've been such a great group, or you can work individually. Once you finish it, then you can work on your Math Masters binder. You can work on your math packet. I've not assigned new con yet, but yeah, there you go. Guess that's it. That's all I got. That's how you math. Oof.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
Try that again. That's how you math.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.